Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Jake.
And this is Mac.
And we are joined today by the gold medalist, the lead representative for the United States in the women's light heavyweight division, Helen Delpopolo. How are you doing today, Helen?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, we've met you a couple times and get along great. It's always fun talking to you, but we've never actually had you on the show, so I'm glad we're breaking the seal.
We are remedying this. I am happy.
Well, once I put the Grand Sumo Breakdown sticker on my phone, I was like, oh, now they have to interview me.
Yeah. You made sure to let us know that you did that, so we'd be obligated to give you a call.
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah.
Kind of forced this. Yeah.
But no, we're a week out from you winning the division.
Holy cow, that was a week ago.
Absolutely epic finish to that division. We'll get into that, but yeah, how are you holding up physically? I know, like, was it like your very first match that you tweaked that ankle or something?
Yeah, it was the second match, against Christina. Long injury I've had for quite some time, and first tournament back in a couple of years, so it just
immediately had to retweak it, right? That's how sumo works.
Course. Yeah, exactly.
No, just you looked like you were in so much pain walking off. You're like, I'm okay. Ow. I'm okay. Ow. I just need to get retaped. Like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys offered me some like duct tape, and I'm like, perfect, whatever.
Yep. That's what we had at the table.
No, the division was kind of a smaller one. I think there were three in your division. So I mean, it was, that doesn't make it less impressive to win the division, but like all three of you guys are qualifying for Worlds. But yeah, immediately you tweaked that injury, and the rest of the time, every time we had to call you back for a match, I was like, oh God, I hope she can show up this time.
People are like, do you want to stop? Do you want to? I'm like, no, I have to keep going. But yeah. Once they said that third match was happening, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that
more
division.
More tape.
So because there were three, instead of doing like a double elimination, we did a double round robin. And then because you and Christina Griffin-Jones of Honu Sumo tied at the end of it, you had to come back yet again for another tiebreaker match. But that was just an epic run between, especially like you and Christina. I think by the end of it, I think you were 2-1 against her, and all three matches were very intense. Just on that topic, like, it is, how hard did you feel like you were pushed compared to years ago, the last time that you competed?
I think I have to play a different game now. That, and when I'm going to say a lot of times I'm old on this podcast, but I'm not old. I'm only 29, but my body is about 60 at this point from all injuries.
Combat sports kind of do that, don't they?
I was about to say, like, I don't know why you've been thrown around a lot. You've been pushed. I mean, sumo, it's just a patty cake sport, right?
Yeah. I don't know any sumo wrestler that's 29 that can get out of bed without making a noise. Like, you're not training hard enough if that's the case. So I've kind of changed my game a little bit. I used to be a lot more aggressive off the takeoff. I don't as much anymore. If as you were watching me, I'm sure you could kind of tell I almost like eat their first hit. I kind of take it, reset myself.
You go higher a lot of the tachi-eyes, I notice.
I go a lot higher. That's from having some bad knees, but mainly it's the foot that's been my issue. Just because I can trip over nothing nowadays with this foot, and I'm getting it fixed before the World Games, so it should be a lot better. But I get nervous of just coming off, trying to hit with the tachi-eye and just tripping without her even touching me. So I kind of stand up, I take the hit, and I'm strong enough to the point where I can get my footing and they're not going to blast me out of the ring. And then it's, all right, let's play my game now. So I think that's what happened the first match with Christine. She's a phenomenal athlete. She truly is. I'm so excited to see the future of her, because she's only been in a couple of years, and I think this is her first year of really going to nationals. And she had a little bit of a background judo. JJ, her husband, is a black belt, I believe, in judo. So, it's all my secrets come out at that point in time.
Yeah, you don't
Oh, no.
necessarily have like, the judo tricks in your back pocket that you
Yeah.
can fool anybody else with, right?
Exactly. So, I definitely want to be able to get lower for the World Games. It's a different world there compared to what you see at nationals, including myself. They hit hard and they hit low. And if they get low enough, they will blast me out of the ring. So, I'm going to be continuing to train and tweak, but I definitely need to get surgery on this foot. That's going to make a huge difference. Because that first match I lost, I kind of, I went to go throw and I put all my weight on that ankle and it just gave out. People thought my knee went out the way it looked, but it was really my ankle.
That was our worry. We're like, oh crap, here we go.
Yeah. But I wasn't even going to fight it because I'm like, you know what, it's not worth the injury. And so I just kind of went down, and you could see me smiling a little after because I was already thinking, I'm like, okay, I have to go against her again. Now I need to play as a righty instead of a lefty. So I'm like chuckling to myself. I'm like, the last time I played as a righty, I was like 7 years old. I'm like, let's see how this goes. But, I'm excited for the future, and, hopefully I can get back to my tachi. I never, I make no bones about it. I've never had a great tachi compared to a lot of the people in the US. It's hard to break what you've known for so many years. And predominantly I have a judo background. And I'm in two different sports where, like, if you stand up in sumo, that's probably the worst thing you can do. And
Yes.
in judo, if you bend over and stay knee bent, that's the worst thing you can do. So I fight my two lives, and from doing both sports for years and years. But I'm just excited to get healed up, and excited for this new team, especially too, to see what they get done. I feel like the old one of the team.
I was gonna bring that
veteran.
up. That's kind of funny that somehow you became like the veteran, the crafty, experienced one in your division at least.
Yep.
Both the other wrestlers you faced. Yeah, I mean, athletic backgrounds, sure, but sumo wrestling backgrounds, you're by far the most experienced that Team USA has to offer for that division, right?
Yes. Yep. And I'm excited to teach the girls and kind of show them the ropes. And most of the time your first World Games is more mental than anything. Your sumo people, sometimes I was terrible at my first World Games. I was awful. And it wasn't that my sumo all of a sudden got awful. It was, I couldn't handle it mentally. So, if I can bring anything to them, it's trying to get them mentally prepared and help out with that. And, I'm glad, we saw that we were such a smaller division. I think the men's heavyweight was like 19 or 21.
There were a lot. Yeah.
There was a lot. But if you look at how many matches we had, that's why we do the double round robin, right? So not as much as the heavyweight, I'd say. I think the heavyweights had to go maybe 6 or 7 matches to make it to the finals.
Yeah, roughly.
But if you look at Christina, I went against Simone twice. I went against Christina twice. So I had to go 5 matches to make it to the finals. So, it's a lot less women. However, we do just as many matches, and it's just as tiring getting to the finals. Sometimes more, because we don't have the 5-10 minutes of rest in between. You guys,
we were snapping them out like crazy, like, and next, like, they just finished.
Seeing the bracket come up, it's like, I'm so sorry, Helen, just stay right where you're at. just don't leave.
I looked at you once and like gave you the eye, like, don't you dare say my name.
Man. But no, that's good. That's something that's important about these tournaments where we get our guys from all over the country together. And again, we got to toss out an apology to Florida Sumo, who because of the draw got kind of screwed on, especially the open weight. But you don't want to travel across the country and only have like 2 matches and then travel all the way back home, right?
Right.
So these guys that you only see a couple times a year, it's that valuable experience of seeing each other, teaching what you can, having at least a few matches. And yeah, that was, when we do our episode covering like our entire experience of the event, we'll talk about that more. But yeah, especially in the women's divisions, we had to, had to make sure everybody's getting their money's worth, right? Is that generally how it goes in the women's divisions and in our tournaments?
That's 50% of it, making sure that everyone gets their matches. It's also, we want to, sumo is such a sport. It's not like football. It's not like soccer. There's no coming back from it, right? You can lose in 1 second in the match. the most unforgiving sport, I like to call it, in many ways, but specifically to especially if you lose a match, you're done. So
That's
by
it.
doing, yeah, it's over, right? So by doing a double round robin, actually our division is a perfect example of it. The fact that I won against Simone my first match, Christina had won against Simone the first match. That first match between Christina and I, if it was just a normal round robin, she would have gotten first because she beat me. I would have gotten second. Simone would have gotten third. So by doing a double round robin, you try to truly see, okay, we want the person who can really win to be at gold. And it just happened to be me this time. I don't know what it's going to be next time. Christina and I are loving arch nemesis now. Now I love her to death. But
she's on quite the trajectory, though. Who knows about
Yes.
next year?
Yeah.
She might get you then.
She might get me there. Exactly. So, we just wanted to, because we're going to be giving it to the International Sumo Federation and who's the number one athlete, who's the number two athlete. So, we like to make sure that let's see a best out of three. And it's great for the crowd. It's great for the federation. And like you said, it's great to just get those extra matches in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of my favorite moments of the whole day was once the weight classes were done, we were taking a break and then we were going to regroup and do the open weight stuff. Roy Sims, who I didn't know who he was at the beginning of the day. So that was kind of a learning experience for our team.
He lost a lot of weight. To be fair, from the photos that we've seen of him,
yeah.
I'm used to his sumo build. When the skinny guy walks in, I'm like, who are you?
I know.
But no, it was very cool having him there, and I feel a little bummed that I didn't appreciate who he was at the time. But we won't cover too much here.
Nope.
But look into Roy Sims if that name is new to you. But once the weight classes were done and our qualifiers were determined, he came up and he wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page. He made a little announcement like, weight classes are done. You guys are no longer Florida Sumo. You're no longer Dark Circle Sumo. Now we are Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially in the women's divisions where you guys had smaller teams, that camaraderie, that we're here for each other attitude seems pretty strong. Am I reading that right?
Oh, 100%. And, just to speak one thing on Roy Sims, he's my favorite person in the federation. He always has been. And I love a lot of people, but, Roy has been like a mentor to me. I mean, I flew to California a couple months ago just to go see some family. And I drove an hour out to Hollister and I went and spent the day with him. And we've been to Japan multiple times, but he's just one of the best individuals you'll ever meet. He's going to be at the World Games. He has a job set up through the World Games to be the IT person.
Right on.
Cool.
I'll let you know a little secret. I plan to nominate him and hopefully get him as the World Games coach. I want to throw his name in the hat.
Let me let you in on a secret while we're recording a podcast.
That's about to say, we're recording on a show here.
The athletes always have a say of who they'd like to see as a coach, and
Sure.
There'll be a bunch of names put in. What I say does not automatically go.
No.
In the least bit. He's such a positive. You saw that speech he gave. He's such a positive.
It was powerful.
person.
It was great.
He's incredible, and his sumo is amazing. I had the privilege of actually coaching him at the Worlds, the last Worlds that we went to in Japan. That was 2019, and I got to coach him, and it was just one of the highlights of my entire life. Standing there, getting him ready, and that's just what we do for each other. And when I'm having a bad day, when I want to walk away from everything, I call him, and he brings me back to earth. And I think he'd be a phenomenal coach, and he'll be there to support whether he's the official coach or not. That's just that type of guy he is. But I highly recommend doing a podcast with him sometime, because he's the most amazing man like I've ever met in my life. I tell him all the time, I'm like, if you weren't married and I wasn't this way, I would totally ask you.
We'll make sure to show him this podcast to
Yes.
We've got to have you on the show after how much, Helen's talking you up. Like, come on.
He's the best. I remember we were in a hotel in Japan, and he was taller than the door. He was
Mac ran into
wider.
that.
Oh yeah, I ran into that problem too. I'm like, this isn't
but
good.
I imagine Roy probably runs into that here in the States as well sometimes. He's huge.
Probably, yeah. It's very funny to be in Japan with him though, where everyone is super short and he's just walking around. They look at him like he's Godzilla or something. They're like, oh my, I've never seen that. So yeah, he's an awesome dude.
That's
So
awesome.
what has been your journey with sumo? So you have a background in judo. And like you said, you're fighting your nature in that, because for one, you don't want to be hunched over and crouched. And the other one, it's what started you down the sumo path?
Yeah, so I was about 12 years old. I grew up training at the Cranford Judo Karate Center. The head instructor, the owner, Sensei Yoshida Yanazuka, he did sumo when he was in Japan. So I had been doing judo since I was 3, my brother since he was 4. So I was 1 down at the club. And, you know, for my 3rd birthday, my dad's like, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, I want to start judo. You know, my first tournament, I fell asleep on the mat. Like after I won, I just want to point that out, but I fell asleep sucking my thumb on the mat. Like that's how tiny Helen was.
That's how far back we go. Yeah.
That's how far back. So I'm 12 years old and my gi is open and it's the end of our Wednesday night practice. And my coach comes up and he smacks me on the stomach and he's like, you're fat enough to start sumo.
What?
I always had a beer belly, no matter how many crunches I did. And I was just like, okay. And, you know, but I idolized him. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I started practicing and we had formal Wednesday night practices, but I'd push with him Wednesdays and Thursday practices. And all of a sudden nationals come up and they're in New Jersey and he's like, I want you to compete. And this is the first and only time I was a lightweight in sumo. I was 12.
I was about to say 12 and you're competing in a tournament already. Jeez.
Yeah. And I went to the tournament after a couple months of training and I was so nervous. And, you know, that's when I first met Kelly Knighting, you know, a lot of the old heads, Manny Yarborough, Renee Marte, all these guys.
I think by that point, Trent was probably in it for only like 20 years at the time.
Yeah. So I met Trent when he was, I think he was 22 or something. He was very new when I first
back in like the 30s or what?
Yeah, I know. He's like the case of Benjamin Button. That guy doesn't.
Yeah. No, he totally is.
He goes back in time. I think it may have been his first nationals, the one that I was at, his first or second. And I remember seeing him and stuff. And I kind of cling to who the younger person was because, you know, I'm 12. I don't know anybody. That's my dog. I apologize. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
I can hear that. I was like, what is that?
It sounds like the mailman must be coming by or something. We got some fierce noises out there.
I'm going to pause it 1 second and get him down. Because
honestly, I'm going to do the same.
No, take your time.
Daisy's whining out there. We'll regroup in a minute.
Regroup.
If you enjoy the Grand Sumo Breakdown podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
You can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search for Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Support the show on Patreon and check out our blog, grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.com.
If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
Also, watch us on YouTube.
And we're back after a quick but necessary dog break on the part of 2 of the 3 of us. But yeah, we were talking about Trent and your first trip to nationals.
Yeah, so I competed. I won. It was, you know, a really.
Wait, you won?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
There weren't that many girls, you know. I mean, now we're at the biggest part we've ever been with women in sumo, and it's incredible. I think I had 1 or 2 girls in my division. But, you know, I still think it's one of my coolest accolades. I was 12 and I made my first world team. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
So my coach comes up to me. He's like, you're going to Japan. I'm like, and I remember asking him, I'm like, if I win the worlds, will you buy me a car?
Oh.
Like, you know, why not? And he chuckled and he's like, you win worlds, I buy you whatever car you want. I wasn't thinking what was going to be waiting for me at Worlds, right?
Oh, my
You're
sweet
like, oh,
summer
wow,
child.
sumo's easy.
Yeah. I'm like, I just won this. What's Worlds going to be? So we went to Japan and, you know, it's fun to see the evolution, especially with Trent. I've known him so long, class act guy. He was, I think, 22, 23. I'm 12. I'm up on his shoulders at, you know, walking around in Japan and having a great old time. Carl Papadopoulos was on that team. There was a lot of Kenna I've known for a long time. So, you know, it's interesting. to see, then I came back after I focused on judo after that Worlds. I had Japan first round. I've got one picture because that was before the days of cell phones with iPhones and pictures. I've got one picture from me walking, and I have a cool mullet, 12 years old, badass mullet. Got my Mawashi on. I'm so thin. I miss those days, but you know, it was a great experience to get to do that. And you know, the IFS told me that I was actually the youngest to ever compete from any country ever at the Worlds. So
Very cool.
it's a fun
awesome.
fact, you know. Maybe someday it'll be at a local bar at a trivia, probably not, but
You can bet it'll be on the next episode of trivia that we do.
there you
Yes.
go. There you go. Yeah, and then I took a hiatus, you know, for some serious time. I focused on judo. I was training for the Olympics for judo. I made it to the 2008 Olympic trials when I was 15. I was in Ronda Rousey's division. She was
So
at
how'd
a-
that go for you?
didn't go very good, you know. My claim to fame is I lasted like in one of Ronda's arm bars at senior nationals. She couldn't pull the trigger on the arm bar. So that's I like to joke with people, you know, all the time about that. But no,
Hey,
it was a
that's
little
better than
peak on-
several professional UFC fighters have done. So that's
Yes.
something.
If I didn't love my face so much, I would have gotten into UFC. But you know, I don't have
Yeah,
much
you
going
can't
for
risk
me.
them.
This is
Can't risk the moneymaker. I get it.
80% of it.
That's
Um,
why I commentate on sumo rather than participate. You know,
Yeah.
otherwise. Oh man, but yeah. So then I know you got back into sumo because you went to Worlds. Was it 2015 as well?
Yeah. So that same coach actually had unfortunately passed away.
Oh no.
In 2014, and he had so many legacies in judo. Like my brother, I mean, he created 5-6 Olympians, world champ.
Wow.
But I noticed that he didn't really have anybody left in sumo. So, you know, I'm thinking I'm just going to go compete once, you know, show honor to my coach for what he's done for the sport. You know, he was the president of the federation for however many years. He was the vice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was the vice president of the whole international federation. He was the coach to our only world champion, Manny Yarborough. Fun fact, Manny Yarborough cried when I won my first nationals at 12. He started shedding a tear. I love that, man. I'll shed a tear if I think about him too much. But yeah, so I went to go compete and I walk in and I don't know anybody from sumo. It's been 10 years. It was 10 years to the date pretty much of me coming back. And then I walk in and I see Kelly Knighting sitting there and he's like, oh, here comes the next like national champ. And I'm like, I know you. And I felt a little more comfortable. And I was like, all right. And I did not think I'd win that tournament. And I won that tournament. And they were like, congrats, you're on the world team again. And I'm like,
Wow, I forgot sumo's super easy.
Oh
at
yeah, it's
this.
like, oh,
Yeah.
sumo, I get it. And then there's Trent Sabo just like in the corner. Hey.
yeah, exactly.
Try to put you back on his shoulders 10 years later there.
Yeah, right. I think I put him on my shoulders at that point.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but it was a very humbling, amazing experience. Especially I was there with Trent, and now I'm the age that Trent was when I was 12. You know, and we're back at the same dojo, the same clay dojo in Japan, the same place we were 10 years before, and it was really cool. And you know I made my sensei proud, and you know I kind of am living his legacy on for the U.S. And I had a good run that tournament. I think I lost my first match actually, and then I came back to win 2 or 3 more with some. I did mainly throws. You know, I'm really upset. I had. Trent will back me up on this. This is not me blowing smoke or anything. I had one of the nicest throws that you'll ever see at a world championships, and no one got it on camera.
Oh.
Janelle Hamilton was recording, but had it backwards, the camera or something.
No.
Yeah, and that was, you know, because in Japan, they straight up tell me, they're like, your Tachiya is very bad. And I'm like,
Your touchy eye sucks.
yeah, I'm like, thank you so much. And then, you know, I battle with the girls at Nihon University, and they're like, oh, Tachi bad, judo good. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, but so
Yeah,
I
maybe
got,
give me a little credit. Shut up.
yeah,
Exactly. It's like, I
I'm
can
let me
do
just
judo
wrestle.
well.
But yeah, so I got 5th that year at the 2015 World Championships in the middleweight division.
Nice.
So that was cool. I missed the medal, but you know, hopefully I can secure one and retire and finish it out. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens. I'm not going to be Trent at 40 years old still doing this. I don't.
Yeah. Oh man. No, the injuries pile up for everybody. I don't know what's wrong with Trent, but something's clearly up with that guy if he can still keep doing it.
Yeah.
But no, so I know we could talk forever. But why don't we wrap it up today with one more topic here. Going into the World Games, we got about 8 months or 7 months or so to go. You mentioned you're looking at surgery on your foot. What else are we looking at between now and then to get ready for the big show?
I've started training as soon as I got back. I want to keep my weight down and actually lose a little more and then put on some extra muscle. But the surgery is definitely going to delay a little bit of the training, but we're planning for the nationals. Kelly Knighting and myself are going to be co-directing the nationals at FitCon in April. So we're trying to set up to be able to do a training camp for not just the World Games athletes, but for all athletes. Because, the only unfortunate thing is that we don't have a tournament every weekend that people can get to. So, I created a little Facebook group with all the new members of the world team as soon as we all made it and invited them in. And, we're talking about doing Zoom workouts together, doing SCO and, anything we can possibly do. We're all bouncing ideas back and forth on one another. This is a great group of people. We plan to, we're going to be fundraising some money, hopefully, to be able to, my idea is get an Airbnb for a week where all the athletes come and we just hit. So we're working on that now. We're coming up with ideas for fundraising. I thankfully have like a t-shirt press in my living room. My girlfriend would kill me. She wants that thing out of there, but if I turn it on soon, then, so we'll be doing t-shirts. We're going to be doing some fundraisers. And I just wanted these new athletes to see that we're a family federation. We care about how everybody does. We all succeed if one athlete succeeds. And that's the mantra about sumo, right? Is respect and lifting your counterparts up as well, not just in the dojo, but when you get out too, helping them out. So I just want to get this team as excited as possible. Eros's mom is a therapist. She's offered to do some Zoom classes with us to help us ease our minds before competition. What a wonderful woman she is. Eros too, just a great family. So we've got a lot of things in the pipeline to set all these athletes up for success.
Excellent.
Hell, I'm excited. This is going to be cool.
Yeah. Save us a large and a medium for sure. You can count on at least 2 customers on those t-shirts for sure.
Deal. I appreciate that.
But yeah, where can people find you and follow you on social media, Helen?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook. I accept anybody who has an interest in sumo. I love to talk about it. Instagram, Helen Delpopolo. Snapchat, same thing. And do I have anything else? I'm on Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter though, but reach out to me if any, especially women, if they want to get started in sumo. I don't care if it's a guy or a girl. Of course, I want to build women's sumo just because we're so much smaller still than the men. But anybody who has any interest in exploring sumo, give me a call. I'll be real with you about it. I'll tell you all the amazing things that's happened. I'll talk about injuries, but I'll get them excited. My goal long after I'm done competing will be to continue to grow the sport. And, so many people in this country don't know it even exists. And it's one of the most beautiful sports in the world. And it's weird saying that, knowing that 2 people are slamming into each other.
It's
throwing
brutal
each
and
other
beautiful
down,
at the same time.
screaming. It's like,
And, my ultimate goal is to make it an Olympic sport, Olympic event, I should say. We are an Olympic sport as of 2018. We're sanctioned by the IOC,
right?
Which was a major win.
The World Games is kind of like affiliated, right? Like with the Olympics, kind of it's just like the weirder, smaller sports kind of a deal.
Yeah, so it's basically the Olympics for sports that aren't in the Olympics. The IOC sanctions it. And if USA has not yet. But if USA has a great showing, it could be the difference of us getting into the games or not.
Yeah.
And we almost were in the games back in 2008. We were accepted actually, but some stuff went down. So anytime you want to talk about that.
That sounds like drama for its own
Yes.
full podcast episode, doesn't it?
Yeah. It still haunts me though. So I'm hoping before I'm too broken to compete that we can make it. My stupid brother's a 2-time Olympian, and I'm like,
Screw you.
I just need to beat my brother. That's all. I just need to get past him.
He took the easy route and did a sport that's established. You're
Exactly.
yeah, come on. That's no big deal.
So I say, screw you, man. Take a real hard look at this. I'm doing the real work here.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, no, it's been great talking to you, Helen. We'll talk to you again soon. Keep an eye out for more GSB coverage in the aftermath of the Las Vegas World's qualifying event, the North American Sumo Championships, and keep in touch with GSB. We'll be announcing any other tournaments that are coming up, and Team USA looking to make it big in July in Alabama. Thanks again for joining us, Helen. We'll call it a day here and talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Until next time.
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.